Hi, and welcome to the weekly general reading for Monday, October 14th, 2019. Now, it does not have to be Monday, October 14th, 2019 in order for you to get something out of this reading. It is a timeless reading. What we're looking at is the general themes, the energy, what kinds of dynamics to expect for the next 7 days, okay? And we're going to hopefully make some predictions, okay? So whenever you watch this, it's going to apply to the next 7 days for you, okay? All right, so that said, anything you need to know about me is in the description below, including the timestamps if I don't have that in a comment already. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to name the piles. The first pile is the red butterfly. The second pile is the blue butterfly. The third pile is the purple butterfly. The fourth pile is the green butterfly, and the fifth pile is the orange butterfly. So take some time to figure out which pile is calling to you. You can use whatever method that feels most authentic for you. And very shortly we'll go ahead and start turning over the piles, and you will have your reading. All right, guys? Again, I just want to thank you for, all of you guys who have donated to help me get my equipment back running. I really thank you, and I think that all of the rest of the viewers thank you as well, given that I am going to be able to produce videos the way that I used to, so that'll be great. Okay, so for those of you who have not picked your pile, go ahead and pause. Otherwise, we're going to start with pile number 1, the red butterfly. All right, hi guys. Hi those of you who picked pile number 1. So here is your reading. So we have the Four of Swords, so that lets us know that you're going to be feeling a little private this week, okay? Now's the time to take a little bit extra time to rest. So this is something as simple as getting like 15 more minutes of sleep every day this week, or it could just be something like, spending some time by yourself every day, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. It could be just 10 minutes. But this is just letting us know that you need to slow down this week, and that would be great, okay? You might notice that people around you are feeling a little defensive, okay? This kind of defensiveness, it's not about anything that's actually there. It's about perception, okay? So in order to make sure that you are interacting with other people and it's as smooth as possible, make certain that you are very transparent about everything that, when you're interacting with people. For example, if I was to say, so when's your birthday? And I was one of you guys that picked this pile, the person that I'm asking that might say something like, well, why do you want to know? And what I could do is I could say something more like, of course, pretend that this has actually happened, but, I lost all of my contacts on my phone, and I'm putting everybody back in, and I was putting you back in, and I just wanted to go ahead and add your birthday so that I would have that reminder. Just asking everybody, if you don't want to give it to me, that's fine. That kind of thing. That's what I mean by just being real transparent, okay? Because it feels like the people around you are a little bit on edge, and I think that the reason is that they're trying to read into things that you're saying. And what they're trying to read into is stuff that's not really there. Okay, this week you are going to feel like you really need to make a decision. You're going to feel a lot of pressure. For those of you who are in, this is going to be a situation whether or not you have to make a decision or not. For those of you who can, it would be better to prolong this decision until next week, because it feels like there's so much pressure on you this week, and it seems like right now is a better time to kind of take to yourself. Otherwise, this decision, what you can say to people is, I just still need to feel it out, or I need to think it through, okay? Feeling it out and thinking it through are both ways of explaining what the issue is with you, okay? So if you're having a hard time, like with maybe the moral aspects, the ethics, how you feel about it, go ahead and tell them that you still need to feel it out. If you're having more trouble with just the logistics, like the pros and cons and that kind of thing, tell them that you need to think it through, okay? Either way, is a good way of communicating that to somebody, if it's dependent on other people. If you absolutely have to make this decision, though, make sure that you're taking time for yourself, okay? And this is what you're going to be working on this week. We're talking about denial, okay? When we deny something, for what I'm getting for you guys intuitively is that it's like you're denying a part of yourself that you normally allow yourself to express. So look at your life and look at the areas in your life where you're not as happy, and see, well, what have I substituted from that? What am I denying myself from that area of my life that I'm not doing now? And that should help you get to that point, because what I'm getting is that each person is, each one of my viewers who pick this pile is going to have their own specific thing that they're going to be in denial about, or their own specific thing that they're denying themselves. But the key is to look at areas in your life to find out where you're not as happy, and then look what has been substituted, okay? If that doesn't reveal what needs attention there, then you can look at what needs to be added, okay? Because sometimes denying ourselves something is more about what we need to add to our life rather than what we may have taken away before, okay? I do want to say, traditionally, this card does mention denial as in denying things, for the purpose of being able to kind of gloss over it. For example, this is a really extreme example, but for example, one time, one of my friends, their brother, passed away, but they passed away in a different country. This is true, by the way. I'm not just making it up. And I observed myself being in denial that the person had passed away. I was like, surely there's some kind of mistake, and when the body gets to the United States, because that's where I live right now, when the body gets to the United States, then we'll find out it was somebody else and it wasn't actually that guy. And so that I was like observing myself denying that this death had happened, right? That's the normal way that this card is read, and I'm only saying that because I want to be forthcoming with the full meaning of this spread. I don't feel like that's the meaning that applies to you guys, and the reason that I would be in denial is so that I don't have to face that grief, in that particular situation. When we go into denial in that way, it's so that we don't have to face some kind of negative feeling, right? Okay, and then here's your advice card, which is Celebrate You. The number for this is 6, for those of you who are interested in a number to kind of focus on. And it really kind of goes back to this 4 of Swords energy of just making sure you are really focusing on yourself this week. I don't get a whole lot of activity this week for you guys from other people. I'm not getting a whole lot of interaction. I'm not getting, at least nothing new, right? I'm getting that this is kind of going to be a normal week with a little bit of difficulties just with people. You just got to make sure you're being as open as possible when you're talking to people, and just some pressure with a decision, okay? So yeah, really take care of yourself. Take some time to kind of recalibrate and, work on that, denying yourself something that maybe you need in order to be more happy, okay? All right, guys. Okay, those of you who picked pile number 2, the blue butterfly, here is your reading. Okay, so we have, well, I'm just going to go ahead and say we don't have the best cards for you guys, but we're gonna get through it. We are gonna be just fine this week, okay? So we've got, at first we've got the Five of Wands, okay? And this card in this particular situation is just a lot of confusion among people. Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of maybe misunderstandings, which might lead to bickering. I don't feel like it's going to be an all-out fight, but there's going to be some misunderstandings that's going to lead to bickering or just, you know, short-fused arguments, that kind of thing. We also have a Tower moment right now. Now, you know, for you guys, when a Tower moment happens, you know, it's time for us to just, you know, it's time for us to just get rid of the old and bring in some new energy. So what this can, you know, what this can be is you getting rid of stuff that's not serving you, okay? Stuff that's making you anxious, okay? Because the Nine of Swords is talking about things that we're imagining that's making us anxious, at least for me. For me, the Nine of Swords is talking about like nightmares. It's like talking about, oh, the worst case scenario and all of that kind of thing. I think that whatever moment happens this week that feels like just things are being turned upside down or things are falling apart, okay? And I feel like it's only going to be one area. It's not like it's going to be like a bunch of things at once. Whatever your biggest worries this week are about it, you're actually going to find that it's not as big as it feels when you're going through it, okay? So remind yourself of that as you're going through this. And again, I mean, this on top of like people bickering, on top of you feeling anxious about it. I mean, anxiety is a normal you know, fear, anxiety, it's a normal response to stress or change, right? That the Tower brings. But, you know, with it coming up in the spread as well, it kind of makes my heart go out to you guys, because it's like, it's just not gonna feel good, okay? And this is what you're working on this week, okay, is courage, okay? And I'm just gonna go ahead and also say that this is your advice, okay? So this is what we're working on this week, and this is your advice card. You're working on courage right now, and this is being able to stand up to what has been holding you back, and choosing a healthier path, okay? So this week, what you're supposed to be working on is sticking up for yourself, standing your ground, and making decisions that's for the betterment of yourself, the healthiest decisions, okay? That can be very difficult, okay? And it can take a lot of courage and strength, which is kind of connected to courage, but it's all about just being able to stand up to anything that is kind of opposing you. Now understand there's going to be some opposition here. That's just going to be natural. But as long as you take as much of a stand as you can, you're learning what you're supposed to be learning, and this Tower moment can be avoided anytime in the future. You know, you'll learn this time, so you won't have to go through this again. And your advice card, this is number 30 for those of you who want to know what a good number might be this week. We've got the Rebel card, and you know, for this particular spread, I kind of like it because it's like you're supposed to be doing something different, okay, this week. You know, whatever's happening with this Tower moment, with this bickering and all of that, you're being pushed to change your perspective and to change your behavior so that you can bring in either new stuff or you can rebuild and that kind of stuff. So this is your chance to kind of turn around and do things a little bit differently, okay? So if there's an area of your life that feels like it's going through a Tower moment right now, or if there's something that comes up in the next 7 days that feels like that, that's the area where you need to kind of rebel a little bit and just find a different way. You know, it doesn't even have to be a huge rebellion. It could just be like, okay, you know, maybe my email crashes, and at the same time I can't get a hold of people on my on my phone where I text people, okay? Then I can be like, okay, well, maybe I need to change email service providers, or maybe I need to change my phone service, or maybe I need to change something else. You know, it can be something kind of small too. You know, the tower moment doesn't have to be huge. It's just with all of this other stuff, you know, with the bickering and with the anxiety, it does feel like it's it's going to be more big for you guys, those of you who pick this pile. But just know, I mean, really, learning courage is a really important aspect of how we function day to day, okay? And so this, everybody has to learn this at some point in their lives, and then of course, once you learn it, you have to learn it on multiple different levels and all of that kind of stuff. So even though it might look like it's not the best week for you, and it probably won't feel like it is, understand that you are applying some really important principles to your life as you're going through this with courage, and you're kind of learning to feel comfortable with yourself doing something a little bit different, okay? Some of us are really, really opposed to change. I know I am. And so this energy will help bring in the new and help you rebuild quicker, okay? All right, guys. So it's not all bad. You guys are fine. Okay, hi. Those of you who picked the third pile, the purple butterfly, here is your reading. Okay, so we have 3 wands. We've got the King of Wands, the 4 of Wands, and the 9 of Wands, okay? What you're working on this week is relationships, and your advice is talk to God. Please understand that, this is a Christian-oriented deck, but, substitute what you believe in instead of God. Like, for example, talk to spirit, talk to goddess, the universe, science, whatever it is, meditate, talk to your higher self, whatever that is for you, okay? So I don't want to, make us only think in a certain way, okay? I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this reading. There might be a particularly passionate male person in your life this week that's going to kind of take a stand, might come forward a little bit, that kind of thing. So be aware of that. It might be like a brother, or for those of you who are involved with a romantic partner who's male, it could be him. It would be, or maybe a father figure, maybe a son even. Just somebody who's really close, like a first degree relative or a first degree person. Like, so it could be also your best friend if your best friend's male, that kind of thing. But it's a masculine energy, and do understand that gender fluidity and all of that, it could actually be a female that might have more masculine tendencies. It's just that's the way it's coming up for me. This person is, for those of you who this happens with, this person is going to be a little bit more theatrical and a little bit more dramatic than you're used to. But it feels like it's a breath of fresh air. It feels like this is something that's moving this relationship along, which is good because you are working on relationships this week, okay? I feel like this is from the past, but it feels like there was a missed opportunity before. I don't feel like this is going to be this week. If it is this week, it's going to be the day that you watch this. You might feel like you either had or you will have a missed opportunity, like the first day that you watch this, okay? But that's going to come back around because, like, things are all lined up, and it's like this guy, he's got the bandage on his head. He's been hurt before, like, oh no, I missed this opportunity and I wanted to do this. There's something in the past that you weren't able to do that you really wanted to do. And now things are kind of lined up and you'll get a second chance to do it. You could say no if you want, it's not like you have to, but it's something that has to do with something you're really passionate about, something you feel really strongly about. This is going to have to do with like your emotions, the real fiery energy, really dynamic energy. Something that has to do with, passion, creativity as well. Okay. So here we are talking about relationships. So self-monitor, notice how you're relating to other people, and start taking note of ways that people aren't responding to you, and in ways that you would like, and try to figure out how you can approach people in a way that what you are saying to them is more palatable. Okay, so for example, I like to use this example, but for example, instead of throwing yourself at the feet of the person that you're in love with and saying, "Oh, I need you, I love you, I want you," all of that, go ahead and just tell the person, and if they get freaked out, obviously, some people might like that, but if they get freaked out and everything, you might want to try something a little bit more subtle and just say, I really love that joke you told, or I really love what you're wearing. You're still saying I love you. You're still saying I love things about you, but you are kind of saying it in a more palatable way, right? So that's one example. You can apply that in, figure out how to do that in business, at work, at school, with your teachers, with your classmates, that kind of thing. Just any kind of relationship. Okay, so it does reference this character, yes, but it's also just talking about relationships in general. That's what's going to be the theme. So if you find that this week you're kind of having some negative feedback from your relationships, really look at that and see what you can learn from that. If you're having a lot of positive feedback, it's time for you to kind of let up on yourself and realize that you're really doing a good job relating to other people, okay? And I feel like it's going to be different depending on the viewer, but the theme is the same, and that's relationships. Now, as far as the advice card, the number on this is 11, for those of you who find that, that kind of thing find that kind of thing important. If you need that number to kind of anchor onto this week, that's what this number is. And what this is talking about is just being still. It's talking about being still and kind of imagining yourself as an empty receptacle, so that you can receive insight. You could even do some visualization with that by just sitting down in the same position as this character is, right? And just emptying your mind and saying, okay, I want to receive insight, or I want to receive the knowledge that I need, or I want to feel out this situation, whatever it is. Another way that you can do this, and I'm only adding this on because it's something that I personally do, as well as Shannon, my business partner. We both receive, it's kind of like channeling through music. When we write music, when we're sitting, I play the piano mostly, he plays the guitar. We've both noticed that it feels like the music is coming through us, not necessarily from us, if that makes sense. And it's kind of like the same thing. Another thing that you could do is you could do this with automatic writing, free writing, painting, anything like that just kind of allows you to just let information come through you, because I feel like that is going to be what really helps you this week, and this is the advice card. So just find times to be still this week so that you can receive some kind of information that's, it's like there's some kind of inspiration that's supposed to hit you this week, and you can be more receptive to it by taking time to be still. All right, guys? Right. Okay, hi. Those of you who picked the fourth pile, the green butterfly, here are your cards. Wow, we've got the Hermit energy, and we have the High Priestess, okay? And I'm putting these down together because they're both major arcana cards, so this is going to be a pretty big week for you, okay? We also have this kind of celebration card. I feel like this is going to be more at the end of the week, because these two cards and this card kind of are opposite energies. Basically what you're going to be working on this week is adversity, okay? And your advice card is to give more. Wow. I just want to speak on this for a minute. For me personally, I find that I give too much. So if my advice, if I was to pick this pile, for example, and it was to say give more, it's like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do, right? Well, it could be that you're supposed to still say no to a lot of things, and really pace yourself and set those boundaries so that you don't overwhelm yourself. But what you do give into maybe your work, into any kind of favors you're doing for people, into any kind of collaboration, or even in your relationships or whatever, do it with a little bit more passion, with a little bit more love. And that's how you can give more in that situation. Okay, so we'll come back to that, but I just wanted to mention that because that can be a kind of a tough lesson when so many of us are taught that we're taking on too much, and so giving more seems like what? But yeah, so let's talk about the Hermit energy and the High Priestess energy. Both of them are very, very similar. Okay. With the High Priestess, it's more of a feminine energy, and with the Hermit, it's more of a masculine energy. But they're both talking about kind of withdrawing and finding the answers within. It's like it's the acknowledgement that you do know what's going on. You really do. So if you've been having intuitive moments lately, and you're like, gosh, I don't know if that's right or not, because it can be difficult. It can be kind of scary to trust our intuition, especially when they sometimes go against what we're experiencing in physical reality, right? Just know that you are receiving intuition, you are receiving knowledge, you're on track, basically. And your task this week, or what you're going to be feeling like doing, is to withdraw a little bit and continue to receive that energy. Okay, I do want to mention that the moon and the stars, the Hermit has a little star in his thing. I love the Hermit card, so I'm gonna talk about it a lot. but no, like we've got the moon and the stars, so I feel like this is happening at nighttime for you guys. So this might be a situation where you guys are both. You guys are having dreams or maybe visions as you're drifting off to sleep. Just try to take note of those. I know it can be kind of difficult when you first wake up and the dream is like right in your mind, and then you kind of forget it during the day. Just take note of that if you can. For those of you who don't remember your dreams, that's it's fine. It doesn't mean that it has to happen at night. It's just this is the time where you're most receptive, where things are most ripe for you. Okay, and then we've got this celebrate. Like, you'll probably get together with friends this week somehow, okay? You might be reunited with a friend that you haven't talked to in a while. That's for only some of you. But for most of you, it's like there's going to be some kind of get-together, or you're going to be invited to a get-together this week. And it's just letting you know that you can kind of relax a little bit and have that experience, that time. If you're in a situation where you've been invited out, and you're like, I don't know if I want to go, this is saying you can go ahead and go, because you will have fun and you'll be happier for it. Okay, keep that in mind. So what you're working on this week is adversity, and I think that's I think it's a really interesting thing to work on. I feel like the adversity is linked to the Hermit and the High Priestess for most of you guys, okay? It's going to be linked to you kind of arguing with yourself. So the adversity is really coming from within, okay? So this is a time where you can kind of sit with yourself and feel comfortable holding two truths at the same time without feeling the tension that, well, they can't both be true. It's like, you can hold the truth, well, in reality, I'm just pretending. In reality, I don't actually have a whole lot of money. But intuitively, I feel like I'm about to get a bunch of money. And those are two things that contradict itself, right? And so practice sitting with two contradictory thoughts, and you can get really creative and find some contradictions in your life like that, and just sit with it so you can experience what Carl Jung calls the tension of opposites. When we contemplate the tension of opposites, like, for example, life and death, those are both, those are both things that we deal with in our lives, right? We deal with both life and death. So when we sit there and we hold the tension of opposites, thinking and feeling, left and right, male and female, that kind of thing, we become more whole ourselves because we're able to hold that in our consciousness. For very few people watching this, the adversity is going to come from without, but I feel like if it does, it's going to be just one of those people that is is just a difficult person, and the lesson is to not take it personally. Just know that they're like that with everybody. It's like you can't rationalize with an irrational person will apply to you guys. So for those of you where the adversity isn't coming from within, that's what you're going to be dealing with. And I kind of laugh, but oh my gosh, I have a few of those in my life, and they're very difficult, and I know it's stressful, but it's just an opportunity to remind yourself that, hey, this is not coming from you. This is coming from that person, and you cannot get anywhere with that person because you can't rationalize with them. They're not coming from a rational place, okay? The giving more. This card has the number 23 on it, okay? For those of you who want to know, have a number to anchor onto this week. The giving more, again, like I said, it's about putting more love and putting more passion into the things that you do, okay? It's not necessarily saying that you have to take on more. Although those of you who've been kind of in a rut, it's like, it's okay. It's time to kind of get back on track. I know that, especially when I get sick, sometimes I can stay in that rut for a couple of days extra, and I hate it when that happens, but I know that, so this is kind of a call for those of you who've been in a rut for a while to just do one more thing each day until it starts feeling natural, that kind of thing. But for most of you, this is just about putting more love, putting more passion, just a little bit more patience, maybe, a little bit more, maybe caution, to what you're doing, okay? And it's just be one way of thinking about it, instead of giving more, is to be present with what you're doing, okay? All right, guys, this is actually a very positive reading this week, nothing negative. All right, guys, so those of you who picked the 5th pile, here is your reading. We've got the Knight of Pentacles, we have the Hanged Man, we have the Fool. Okay, so we've got 2 major arcana cards. I like to put them together. So this is going to be kind of big week for you. We have Service. This is the main theme this week for you guys. And we have Stick With It as your advice. Okay, so what's going on here? It's really interesting. It's, we're talking about taking some risks, and we're also talking about looking at things from different perspectives. So this week is all about new things, okay? Whatever comes into your life that in the next 7 days that is new, take special note of it, okay? Because that's the Fool energy is all about something new. The Hangman energy is all about looking at things from a different perspective, We're usually right side up. The Hangman is upside down. So he's seeing things completely different, okay? Try to open up your mind to consider different perspectives. You can do this by looking at debates. You can do this by asking people what their perspective is on something. It might not even be something that you're really all that interested in. But, a topic comes up at work, for example, you can say, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? That kind of thing, just so you can practice seeing, well, what are the other perspectives? Because the Hangman is about a lot, like, the Hangman is about seeing things from different perspectives. The Fool is about new information, new energy, new projects. The Knight of Pentacles is, either there's going to be an offer of more money, or there might be a job offer, or there's going to be there might be some kind of like bonus that you get. It feels like there's something. The Knight of Pentacles, he gives something of material. So it might not be money, but it could be, like, for example, a gift card or a gift, something like that. But it's something physical. It's something in the material world, okay? So this is a prediction for you for the next 7 days. Just look for you to get something that's free, or a bonus or something like that, okay? It'll be different for each one of you, given that we have the major arcana cards letting us know that it's going to be a bigger week. The Knight of Pentacles is probably talking about something that's a little bit more substantial, but it could also be very small. You know, it's just going to depend on the viewer. So service. Okay, so what you're being called to do, you might be thinking a lot about maybe volunteering some time, or maybe taking on a little bit more projects for other people, or collaborating, or helping somebody with something, that kind of thing. Understand that the more acts of service that you can do, now it doesn't have to be something huge like making a donation, or setting aside 2 hours a week to go, clean up, help volunteer to clean up the zoo, right? It doesn't have to be like that. It could be, but whatever you do, if you can't think of a specific thing, just look for opportunities to help other people and go ahead and follow through with those opportunities, because it feels like this is well, first off, this is your lesson this week. This is what you're supposed to be working on, but it also feels like that's going to be fortuitous for you. It's going to lead to you might make a new connection. You might it's going to end up being lasting past just this week, okay? So that's where the acts of services come in, okay? And it could be something as simple as like returning your shopping basket, your shopping trolley, what you call it, whatever you call it, your buggy, returning that to the store. It could be something as simple as that, or it could be something huge, like I said, but, whatever works in your life for your lifestyle. And your advice card is number 44 for those of you who need a number to anchor onto this week, as far as, having that kind of, this is an important number. This is talking about sticking with it. Something, this doesn't have anything to do with the rest of this reading. This is like kind of like, oh, and also remember, it's like whatever you've been working on for a while, if you're feeling like giving up, or maybe you're feeling some burnout, or maybe you're feeling like, man, I've been investing a lot of time and energy into this, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, that kind of thing. Just understand that you're being advised to stick with it. So just at least give it another week, okay? Because it's like they're, what it's saying is it's going to pay off in the end, okay? Right, guys, so this is really positive. I really like this one. This is great. You've got some new stuff. Oh, one thing I wanted to say, the Fool can also talk about taking risks, and given that it's with the Knight of Pentacles, it might be talking about it's time to change perspectives and take some risks with money. That could be another complete thought that it has. I don't feel like that's going to apply to most of you. I actually feel like it's going to be only for like maybe 5%. So of my viewers that picked this pile, I just wanted to mention it in case it does apply to you and you need to hear that message, okay? Alrighty, guys. Looks good. Right, thank you guys so much for sticking to the end of the video. I want to thank every single one of you for the likes, the subscribes, and the comments. If you have any kind of pick a card reading suggestion, go ahead and leave it in comments. Shannon, my business partner, will add it to my list. I can't get to them all immediately, obviously, but I do try to get to them as quickly as possible. I do have one that I will be doing this week. It has to do with friendships. For those of you who, because it got a lot of likes when this particular member reminded me that I needed to do it. So I do want to mention that. I also want to mention that I am taking readings again, so you can get information from my description. I don't really want to go on with that, but just know that you can get information about that from my description. If you have any questions at all about readings or anything along those lines, please send that to me in email, because if you leave it as a comment, I might not see it, because I let Shannon take care of the comments here, but the email I always see. All right, guys, again, thank you guys so much for all of the generous donations. It's making it a lot easier for us to budget getting, you know, our equipment up to par so that we can process these videos a lot quicker, okay? And get them out to you guys. All right. That said, I will see you at our next reading.